Wow, you got to see this, prospector. Okay, so I'm walking farther back up into the hills. And I come across this type of material here. Okay, when you look at this, I'm coming up the wash, and we have your typical type of look. And then all of a sudden, there's a big gray hill. Wait, look at that. See that? This is evidence of El Volcano. Look at the power in this. So at some point, some kind of volcano came through, and I do believe this is ash. Oh yeah, look at that. It's like a super powder. See that? So everything else is just dunite. See this hard dunite? Then all of a sudden there's a pile of this. A big pile of that right here. So talk about being close to the volcano, huh? So you're coming along, all of a sudden, boom, ash. So something clearly was super hot at one point through here. Now, seeing this ash like this helps us identify that, yeah, this obviously, what we're looking at secondary enrichment. And seeing all this ash is the source, obviously, of this. That secondary enrichment is nice because it can move material around and concentrate it in other spots, which is probably what's occurred. Oh, look at that big boulder sitting there. That's a chunky. Let's take a look at this. Oh yeah, here's that white stuff I was talking about. You see how some of the rock all of a sudden has all this. This was a nice specimen. That's that fluorine, chlorine, or it could be the boron. The boron, boric acid salt that forms. See this white on the, so it could be, if it's the boric acid stuff, it's useless or it's worthless. As a matter of fact, this one is so much of it that it's crystallizing on the surface. This stuff here might be this might be done just on the surface. Actually, I'm not 100% looking at this, but seeing these rather large crystals makes me think that this formed on the surface. So that might just be a calcium. But it's when you crack the rock open, if you see it on the inside, yeah, you see how it's on the inside? So that's not just on the outside, it's on the inside. So some kind of hydrothermal salt came through. Oh, we're getting rain. I don't know if any is going to hit the camera. I can't tell as I'm shooting. So if you see a raindrop, my bad. I have to keep trying to clean the lens so you don't get raindrops. Anyways, you see this white stuff? So that's either a good rare earth enriched stuff. It's fairly heavy. Or it's a worthless calcium, or a worthless boring salt, or a nice fluorine chlorine salt. But yeah, you see it's all through the rock. It's not just on the surface. So that is also of interest. Now, if it's just boric acid salt, it would make sense that it's here because obviously the volcano was near because of all this ash. And this is that Vought gas boric acid. Well, you would see it in that area. So this is that area. So it's possible that this type of heavy white, this could just be boric acid salt residue, worthless, absolutely worthless. However, what we're hoping for is that maybe we'll find some fluorine chlorine salt that will contain rare earth. Okay, now, even if this internal white stuff salt is just worthless boric acid residue, it still shows us that there was a heat source, all of this boric acid, if that's what that is, and ash, and that heat source would certainly go ahead and move material from one spot to another, enriching it. Pretty nice, huh? Now there seems to be some kind of ridge over here of rock that hasn't eroded, so it's possible that that is enriched rock from this heat source. See all this ash? So the heat from this location may have caused this rock to enrich, and that's why it's not eroding. So as a prospector, you're looking at this big ash pile saying, this must have been hot. And then you're seeing the creamy white in the rock, knowing that hydrothermal fluids have passed through. Okay, and then you say, if there was any nice platinum, chromium, iron, cobalt, nickel, it could have transferred to those rocks right there. And look, these have avoided erosion. So as a prospector, you'd want to sample this. Plus these ones on the surface have a good amount of weathering, which could also be additional enrichment. So as a prospector, these stones right here could be the payday mother lode. Let's take a closer look. Oh, okay. Shut down the valley there. Some nice blue skies. So you have the rain over here, and then you can see some nice blue skies coming through. Okay. Get closer to this. Ooh. She has like a lustrous kind of look. That could be evidence of a certain type of mineralization. The tan, brown, and the black, fairly good weight. You get the sulfur layers, which can look like this, of the dunite, which can be rich in certain types of precious element. I don't have my magnet with me, but I can take some of this to the magnet. Wow, this actually kind of looks like the sulfur material, really. This piece through here, like a sizable chunk of like the silver, that sulfur. See this? See how it's a little different than the regular dunite? Oh no, it's dunite all right. Let's take a look at the inside. It's just a different consistency. This is certainly weathered here. Well, if you notice the material, it's different, but it's all that dunite. And this has probably changed because of that heat source, leaving behind something tasty in these. So it's possible that this material right here, that chunk that won't weather, this little ridge, is enriched from whatever this volcanic ash heat source was. So this is definitely something to send in for sampling. Look at that. Oh, let's grab this little tasty piece right here. See some green. That could either be plant material. Yeah, probably plant material. Anyways, I'll take that little chunk right there. I'm going to keep pressing on up the valley. But I thought you might like to see this. See all the ash? Talk about being close to a volcano. It almost feels like we're in a caldera, the way it has a crescent shape. So all these years, the water's pouring down this little valley here. And these rocks do not erode. And everything else around it erodes. You see why these rocks are probably more precious in value? And then with the heat source right there, so probably, yes, this little ridge right here probably contains some very tasty rare earth mineral. That's why it's resisting erosion. Something's in there. All right, so I'll keep pressing forward. We'll pick up farther up the hill.